can't believe I have to keep coming back to this, but it just blows my mind. And I'm not even a Ravens fan. That's Tony's team. That's his thing, his team. Leave it to him. But it blows my mind that we're just so comfortable disrespecting Lamar Jackson to the degree that we do. Like, I don't get what else Lamar has to do besides beat the internet trolls by winning a Super Bowl to defend his position in the league. I've been seeing this all week. Multiple channels, multiple radio hosts, multiple people in sports media that I know, I respect, I appreciate, I watch. And the question is coming up, and they play today. Who would you rather have? Lamar and the Ravens, Lamar and Derrick Henry on the Ravens, or Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley on the Eagles. This is insane to me. This is 1,000% insane to me. Lamar is in a class of quarterback that the only people you should be having these conversations with him are Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes. And it's crazy to think Lamar gets more disrespected than the other three. Lamar is playing some of the best football, you could argue the best football of his career. Look at his stats. Yes, the records, you could say he's had better records in past years as far as teams win and loss. But his individual play, look how great it is this year specifically. And this is for a guy who has already won 2 league MVPs. And we're still not sure if he deserves to be in the conversation with only the best of the best. And I like Jalen Hurts. This is not a Jalen Hurts trash hour. But let's put Lamar in his proper context. This is one of the 3 to 4 best quarterbacks in the NFL. Make sense? A guy who's already won 2 MVPs, arguably playing better than when he did when he won those MVPs. A guy who's on a team that could absolutely go to the Super Bowl. A guy who is playing out of his mind and is most likely going to be the MVP for the 3rd time in his career this season. And again, there's only 3 guys that I think are even in his conversation. And we give Joe Burrow a pass because he has amazing, brilliant individual stats. But his team's way worse than Lamar's. Josh Allen we give credit because he did it most of this year after trading his number 1 wide receiver. Name a receiver Lamar's had that's been as nearly as good as Stephon Diggs. And now the Bills, as of these last couple of weeks, they have now brought in Amari Cooper, so Josh has a number 1 again. And when they played, one team won by 25. And then there's Mahomes, who, fine, you want to say Mahomes' resume is just impeachable, cool. If it's impeachable to everybody else, fine. But the reality is Mahomes is playing some of the worst football of his career. Lamar is playing some of the best. And if it's impeachable for Mahomes, and his resume is impeachable, and his resume is just clearly ahead of the crowd and ahead of the field, why isn't that same logic for Lamar when compared to anybody that's not in this class? Jalen Hurts has 1 season where you could argue he's been better than Lamar. 1 season. That's the year they went to the Super Bowl. And even that year, I could argue, does that 1 year does not put him in, definitely does not put him above, but doesn't even put him in the same class as Lamar Jackson. And let's look at Jalen Hurts, who, again, I like Jalen Hurts. I'm not trying to make a trash hour, but I just need to prove a point. Jalen Hurts has had, throughout the majority of his career, the best or second best at worst offensive line in the NFL. Factual? Yes. He has had Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and normally really good tight end play. Again, asking, who has Lamar had? Zay Flowers is finally having his breakout year, but who has Lamar had that's as good as Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown? And Lamar's had a great left tackle in Ronnie Stanley, who, as soon as he was cemented and great, started suffering injuries. So, O-line Jalen Hurts has had better. Receivers Jalen Hurts has had better. Tight end, fine. You want to give Mark Andrews over Philadelphia? Cool, but Philadelphia's never had horrible tight end play. Defensively, that year they went to the Super Bowl, They set the all-time record for sacks. And they had Darius Slay and playmakers on defense. Now, Lamar, Baltimore's always had really good defenses. But again, let's bring the context into this year. Jalen's defense and why Philly's doing so well. Yes, Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. But Philly now has maybe the second only to Detroit. Their defense is number 1 in yards per game. And Jalen Hurts' signature play is other guys pushing him into the end zone. It's not these big scrambles. It's not these get out and, create plays with your feet. It is push him into the end zone for a yard. Okay. And that's it's like I don't want to shit on Jalen Hurts, but why is Jalen Hurts allowed to be in the Lamar Jackson conversations? A 2-time MVP, about to be a 3-time MVP. And then let's go, and because this is also disrespectful to Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is the greatest running back of his generation. LaDainian Tomlinson had this at one point. Adrian Peterson had this. And Derrick Henry has been the best running back of his generation. Why is Saquon Barkley, who is having an incredible season and is a great player, why is he in Derrick Henry's conversation? Saquon was just on a bad team, and that's why he doesn't have Derrick Henry stats. Did we all just make up that, did we all just imagine that Tennessee was great for years upon years upon years? They have about a 2.5 year window where they were really good to above average with Ryan Tannehill when he first got there. They got the number 1 seed in the AFC, and if you go look at that year, it's kind of fluky. They weren't some great dominant team, and Derrick Henry still put up numbers. And that's Derrick Henry got off to a slow start in his NFL career. He's been the best running back in the NFL for the last however many years, 7, 8 years. And now he's having another all-time season with Baltimore. Again, Saquon Barkley's fantastic. But Saquon had an amazing rookie year, then some injuries, and some bad years on some bad New York Giants teams. Derrick Henry didn't have a great rookie year, then got off to a good start, made plays, running the ball, Tennessee. Why are these just... You guys all love to do it with quarterbacks. Well, this guy can't be in his conversation because he's done more. Well, then why aren't we doing it with one of the best quarterbacks in football in Lamar? And why aren't we doing that with one of the best running backs of all time in Derrick Henry? Again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Jalen Hurts. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Saquon Barkley. I think Saquon Barkley is great. I think Jalen Hurts is really good. They're not in Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry's class. Sorry, they're just not. So the NFL is king, right? We all understand that. They're so far ahead of everybody that we're about to have a crappy slate of games today. And no one's going to care because we're all going to sit down and watch it still. That's just how far ahead they are of the other sports. And I was thinking about this because we got all the primetime games out of the way. When you have these Thanksgiving games, you have these Christmas games, you have these Black Friday games, they're pulling a lot of the primetime matchups that would be the 4:15, 4:25 window or the Sunday Night Football. They're pulling a lot of those to have them be isolated on their own day. And so we got, of course, a whole bunch of games on Thanksgiving. None of them were that great in reality. But there's one, of course, we got to talk about because you know why? Because what would the NFL weekend consist of if we didn't have Chiefs, Raiders, and another Chiefs game that comes down to a very controversial call? I know what you're saying. You just want to hate on the Chiefs. And yeah, a little bit. But can you blame me? Can you really blame me? I'm not saying that stuff can't happen, and I'm not saying that the refs don't miss calls or the refs make every call correctly and all this other stuff. But when it feels like every single game or every other game, and I know they're in prime time a lot, so it's easy to point this out, is coming down to not a play that Mahomes made or a play that Chris Jones made or a great defensive sack or a great catch by a wide receiver. No, another game comes down to this weird-ass penalty that now improperly just unequivocally, this is what the game. And here come the Chiefs again. They're in a dogfight with the Raiders a week after being in a dogfight with the Panthers. Where I come from, not that this isn't college football, this isn't strength of schedule, but when we compare the teams that are supposed to be great, they're supposed to beat up on the teams that are bad. Again, go look at the rookie quarterbacks. A lot of their best games are against these bad teams, and that's what we expect. The Chiefs play everybody the same. Now, maybe that's playing down to their competition, playing up to the competition, who knows? But pretty much every single game looks the same. And here we go again. Chiefs, Raiders, Mahomes gets the ball. If Mahomes gets the ball, you just know he's going to score. Well, he didn't. He just didn't. Raiders get the ball. They're pinned down. And Aiden O'Connell drives the Raiders down the field, gets into position. There's a whistle blown, false start. And then, simultaneously, and this is where you can get the conspiracy theorists, and this is where you get people that, like, it's just a bad look. Simultaneously to the whistle being blown, false start, Raiders center snaps the ball. Snap is botched. Chiefs jump on the ball. Refs huddle up. Well, of course we called false start, so you just got a dead ball. No, actually, let's huddle up and get this correct. Dead ball, 15-second runoff. Chiefs win the game. Let's get out of here. Again, it's not a great Mahomes play. It's not a great Chris Jones sack. It's not a great Travis Kelce catch or McDuffie interception. Another play for the Kansas City Chiefs against a team they should be beating easily comes down to this weird interaction with the referees. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. I just want to know. And again, people could say, oh, well, it's not fair. Like, in the media, anyone who's out there, besides specifically one guy who everyone knows we're talking about, Mr. Never a Doubt, everybody knows this Chiefs team isn't that good. Or at least when it's, and good is relative. Again, I say this. Good is relative to what their standard is. Their standard is winning another Super Bowl. Has anyone looked at this team and said, yeah, that's definitely a Super Bowl team. 11-1, best 11-1 start ever. They're just gonna do it. Has anyone looked at this team and thought they're clearly one of the best teams in the NFL? Has anyone looked at this team and seen them play and go, yeah, that's the team that's gonna make a run? Has anyone looked at this team and said, yeah, Mahomes is really humming. Oh, Kelsey's getting back into a groove. This defense is actually getting worse, but we're not gonna talk about it. The media is just turning an entirely blind eye because they have the resume to justify it? What about what have you done for me lately? And what have you done for me lately is a bunch of subpar games, subpar football the last 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks. And people talk about the margin of victory stat. And yes, while I do think that matters, what it shows, teams historically in any sport that have these super high skewed margin of victory games. Yes, some of it is coaching. But even historically, coaching will tell you, you just end up on the positive side of one possession games. So if it's 50-50 one possession games, great coaching means you're on the 60-40 side of it. The Chiefs, and the team that I've been comparing them to, the Steelers, are on like the 90% side. And at some point, variance and stats and reality and all these other things start to catch up to you, and you don't keep winning all of these games, especially when it comes time for the postseason, and you really can't win all of these games. So, again, another Chiefs game, another flag, another weird interaction with the refs. What's different?